And back in Baltimore, just about an hour away from the kickoff of the Army-Navy game, we just saw the Navy Goats head into the stadium, a tradition dating back to the very first Army-Navy matchup when the Navy Goat was selected, because goats then served on ships to provide milk. Speaking of the Navy, the name McCain is synonymous with the United States Navy, with service and sacrifice as well. 4 generations of Naval Academy graduates serving with distinction from World War I to the present day with the name of McCain. Joining us now, Navy veteran, Arizona Senator, Chairman of the Senate Armed Services Committee, John McCain. Sir, there's a lot going on in the world. There's a lot to talk about. But on this day, I think it's only fitting to first talk about the game. Navy has a 14-year winning streak going. Is this going to be 15 in a row?
You know, I think it is very likely if you look at the matchups. But one of the on paper, but one of the things about the Army-Navy game is it is unpredictable. And also, I want Navy to win every year, but I don't want it to be totally lopsided. In my
Army's
era,
gotta get one, maybe.
Yeah, and you know, in the days prior to like about the last 15 years or so, it's been balanced. One team wins, the other team wins, and it's a transcendent event. And honestly, it affects the morale if one team keeps losing. So I want Army's morale to come back.
You know, we saw General Milley here. He almost, you know, you could tell he was almost like a little scared that he wasn't going to win. You could tell his men needed it.
Well, I think it'd be good for morale for our cadets, and it's also good to have a balanced rivalry. Of course, I'm an old Naval Academy graduate, and my feelings are with Navy, but it's got to be balanced. And frankly, the American people would like to see a more balanced,
a more balanced rivalry. All right, well,
exactly.
we'll marinate on that. And you know better than anybody, though, that the young men who are on the field today in this epic rivalry, they come together in war. The Army soldiers and the Navy sailors will come together and talk to high-ranking officers, the chairman from the Chief of Staff of the Army and Admiral Richardson from the Navy earlier, both talked about how the services are tired. The men are tired after 15 years of war, and they both said, hey, look, we need more money. And then you hear about a $4 billion destroyer for the Navy that's essentially now a high-priced barge.
There's a great deal of waste and mismanagement, and as chairman of the committee, we have cut way back on a lot of it and instituted a whole lot of reforms. There's a lot more reforms to go. But right now, our men and women who are flying airplanes in the military aren't flying enough because there's no money for them. They're not ready, and their operational training is lacking, and yes, they are tired, and yet the Congress of the United States and this president continues to cut back on the size of the military. It is disgraceful and shameful, and we are asking these men and women to do more with less. And according to General Milley, who you talked to, according to the other service chiefs, we are putting the lives of the men and women in uniform at greater risk. And that isn't just Barack Obama. It's also the Congress, Republicans and Democrats, and it's disgraceful and shameful.
You know somebody who's putting a lot more money into their military, and that is Russia. And we heard not only in terms of sort of their offensive military capabilities, they're also putting a lot of money into their cyber warfare capabilities. Just heard from the Central Intelligence Agency today that Russia, they believe, not only sort of was involved in hacking with the U.S. election, but was trying to put their hand on the scale.
There are certain significant events that sort of crystallize exactly what you're saying. You know, for the first time in history, a Russian aircraft carrier was launching strikes into Syria to kill the people that we arm and train. But it's the first time airstrikes from an aircraft carrier have ever been done by the Russians. There's so many, the deaths, the now renewed influence of Russia in the entire region. They were out of that region, and of course, 6 million refugees and 500,000 people killed. Many of them the people we trained and equipped.
Oh yeah, we saw those Russian airstrikes against, as you spoke of, the people that we train and we arm. When we talk about Russia, and obviously the new administration coming in, there's an intersection with a couple of folks, including one that we're hearing more and more about today, which is Rex Tillerson, rumored to be a pick possibly for Secretary of State. Some say he's a front runner for the Secretary of State's job. We know that he had his second meeting with President-elect Trump this morning before the President-elect is coming down here to the game. Rex Tillerson, Exxon CEO, close ties with Vladimir Putin. Is that a good pick?
I'd have to examine it, and you want to give the President of the United States the benefit of the doubt because of the people have spoken. But Vladimir Putin is a thug, a bully, and a murderer, and anybody else who describes him as anything else is lying. So we cannot have an accommodation with the Russians until they understand what Ronald Reagan taught them, and that is peace through strength. And right now we have no peace and we have no strength. So it depends. I don't know what Mr. Tillerson's relationship with Vladimir Putin was, but I'll tell you, it is a matter of concern to me.
Last question for you. You talk about strength in regaining our military strength. Is it a matter of money or is it a matter of will? And as chairman of the committee, you're sort of balancing more money for more programs, at the same time saying we're going to cut down on waste.
It's a matter of money, will, and also efficiency. The Pentagon is arguably the most
wasteful, inefficient?
Wasteful, inefficient bureaucracy in government, and there's some pretty bad ones. And we are talking about wastage of. There was an article in the Washington Post just last week about $125 billion. And we can't
the Pentagon tried to cover it up.
Yeah, and we've never had an audit of the Pentagon. But I guarantee you there have been some significant changes, and there will be more. That is not an argument to stop spending. What it is an argument to spend better. Because right now, our pilots, let me just tell you, our Marine and Navy and Air Force pilots, when they're back here, are flying less hours per month than Russian and Chinese pilots are.
They're flying a lot less hours than American Airlines pilots are.
Exactly.
Is this an area where you and the President-elect can come together? Because we saw his tweet about Boeing and the Air Force One contract. Is this an area where really having a commander-in-chief who's attuned to this and has some business background?
I believe so. I believe so, but I'm also very enthusiastic about General Mattis as Secretary of Defense. He is one of the great warriors that these years of conflict that you just described has produced. So,
any problem getting him through with the waiver?
We have we worked out with the Democrats a process that we could vote him in on Inauguration Day.
Well, in hearings perhaps even sooner than that.
Yeah, we'll have hearings as soon as we go back in so that everything is taken care of by Inauguration Day. That's the first time the President of the United States could swear in a new member of his cabinet.
Senator McCain, appreciate you being here. We've let each person who has a skin in this game lead a chant, but considering your status here and willing to let Army, you're not going to lead a Go Army Beat Navy, though, would you?
No, because no. I really think, frankly, that, and I know my Navy friends all over the world are incredibly angry at me but we need to have Army win one because we got to maintain that.
So can we get a Go Army?
Rivalry.
No, Go Army. We won't go that far.
Great game, and you know, as chairman of the Armed Services Committee, I kind of have an obligation
to stay neutral. We understand, sir.
As well. But this is a wonderful tradition. I'm so proud that people all over America enjoy it and savor it, and I guarantee you that soldiers and sailors all over the world are going to be watching today, no matter where they are and what they're doing.
Yeah, it was General MacArthur in 1944 who texted in the middle of World War II, sent back a telegram after the win by Army.
Right.
He said, gentlemen, we have paused the war to celebrate your success. So that's what this game means. Senator, appreciate you being here, your insights,
Thanks
sir.
Again.
All
Great
the best.
to be with you.
Good to see you.
Thank you.
Molly?